Hi cousins, and welcome to another session of Honest Talk About Women, where you'll learn tips, tricks and strategies on how to navigate the minefields of dating and relationships. Don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and also comment in the comment section. It helps with the YouTube algorithm. If you have a story you want to share with viewers, you can email me on my email address listed below. Today's video will be on dark spots and how to navigate them. Occasionally you go through life, you have your happy days, your happy months, your happy years, and other times you have not so good years. So it's all about working through those issues and some tips and advice on how to get through that dark periods. Just a disclaimer before we start, I'm not a professional in this area. You should seek professional advice from a social worker, a psychiatrist or a doctor if you need help in this area. So depression, mental illness, mental health seems to be the topic these days. There's a lot of coverage in mainstream media about it. And I'm not surprised because there's a tremendous amount of social media content out there that gives conflicting advice, especially to young people. And for those that haven't yet made up their mind or not that well educated, they can get easily influenced and led down the wrong track. So this will be about depression, mental health, and mental illness, and also how to navigate your way through that based on my experiences. And some tips to go with it. So men have got it way tougher today. You hear women often at a party or in casual conversation or at a business conference. You walk past women chatting away and you hear the comment, men have got it way easier than women. Women have it way harder. They take longer to get organised and prepared in the morning with makeup, the things they have to go through. There's pay inequality. There's pay disparity in the workforce. They need to take time out of the workforce to have a baby. They have loss of earnings. And it goes on and on and on. But the stats say something completely different. Guys have it way tougher. Men die younger. Men are mostly in prison. Most men do blue jobs while women do pink jobs. Most men are in armies that go to war. The self-deletion ratio of men to women is 4-1. Women mostly get custody of the kids. There's sexual discrimination in the workforce for equality reasons rather than it being based on merit. And it goes on and on and on. But this is not a video about the battle of the sexes. We both need to work together and produce the best result, especially if there's kids involved. The thing that most men aren't very good at, though, is they're not very good at talking about their problems. They tend to close up and try and sort problems out themselves. They have this perception that there can be a weak character if you open up and express your feelings. But my mother always used to say to me, a problem shared is a problem half solved. And there's an element of truth in that. Quite often when you're having a bad day or you're going through a bad patch, you talk to other people, and sometimes, unfortunately, it can make you feel better hearing the plight of their story. And talking and sharing your problems can all help each other, especially with men that have common problems. I remember when I was going through my first separation divorce, the neighbours offered for me to come over for a meal. They were very similar to us, our young families, and there was a perception that the wife had left me and the kids. But the actual opposite was true. Things weren't working out for me. We were continuously arguing, and it was time for separation. And I was married to a very tough boss girl, and I had to lure basically her out of the house and say, move into one of our rental properties and I'll get my construction crew to build the best kitchen and the best bathrooms you want. So one thing women do like when they buy a house is a good quality kitchen and good bathrooms. So I got that sorted out for her, and we lived in separate houses. So that was my solution at that stage when things weren't working for me. And the neighbours, got to give them full credit for offering for me to come over. But as a guy, I didn't want to talk about it to anyone. It wasn't something that I wanted to talk openly about. So I can relate to guys that don't talk about their problems. So I feel for a lot of young guys coming through today. There's very powerful social media out there, and they get bombarded with conflicting messages. And for a lot of people that haven't made up their mind yet, or aren't that well educated or seasoned in terms of experiences, they can go down the wrong track with bad advice on social media. So I've got a sign behind me that says focus. It was actually set up for a business channel that I will get up and running sometime. But today we have too much noise and chitter chatter out there, and it distracts people. And with social media, it's probably 10, 20x more than what it was when I grew up as a boy. So you got to be very careful what you take in to and what you listen to, because if it's not achieving your long-term goal, then just cut it out of your life. You're a lot better for it. And I don't listen to much mainstream media, hardly listen to the radio. I don't subscribe to any magazines. I'm very selective on what I narrow in on and focus on, and it's mostly YouTube. It's science, business, technology. Those are the three things, passions of mine. And you see it out in society today, this endless chitter chatter. And, if you want to talk about the economy, there's this economist after economist trying to predict what way interest rates will go. It's like being at the races with horses, and you listen to the commentary of the person discussing what horse is coming first. That's very like politics too, people talking about politics. And it's like a horse racing commentator, just talking away endlessly. It's just gibberish. So you got to eliminate, guys, all the noise in the background. And there's a lot of noise today. A lot more noise is amplified hugely by social media. So eliminate all that noise out there and stay focused on what your purpose is and also yourself. So what causes depression? I've never had depression from what other people have described it as. But sometimes it can be a chemical imbalance. I have heard of that, and that's where you need to seek professional help. That's not something I can offer to you. So get a doctor to refer you to a psychiatrist who can perhaps evaluate you a lot better. But before you go off and take those antidepressant pills or whatever the flavour of the month is out there that doctors prescribe, do a self-audit on yourself. Are you the best version of what you can be? And you've got to accept who you are. We don't design ourselves. We are what our parents are, and it's a genetic lottery. And you are what you are when you're born physically. So don't try and change things you cannot change. But what you can change is your physique. If you're overweight, you've got to do the hard yards, guys, and lose weight. And that means doing the hard slogs, going to the gym, doing the walks, doing the runs, treadmill, weights, maybe join the martial arts. That's a great way of getting rid of anger. If you want to get into the boxing ring, do some sparring with another guy. I can assure you that your confidence level goes up when you're at your best physically. Sexual market worth in the dating market arena goes up too. You can get a lot more cat, a lot more tail when you're in shape and you're feeling good about yourself and you're positive. So first thing, guys, do an audit of yourself. Try and change the things that you can change, and that's looking at your physique. The second part of yourself is the purpose, your career. What is your purpose in life? And most people have to get a trade or a profession or go into business to develop a highly specialized area where they can add value. And unfortunately, not all specialties are the same or pay the same amount of money. So when you deciding to get trained up in something, you got to look at the return on investment, basically, and look past what the career counsellors of certain institutions are promoting it as, and what the prospects are of when you come out. Quite often today, people can go through university, get saddled with a huge student loan bill at the end, and not have a very marketable degree because they've been misled or promised something that doesn't quite eventuate. So stick to the basics, guys. If you're going to get a specialised area of skill, do a trade. Trades will always be around, and also if you go to university, do one of the STEM subjects, which is science, technology, engineering, mathematics. Those will always be around and in good demand down the track, and you'll have a good specialised area to work with. And for those that are a bit more risk adventurous and want to go into business, you got to look at how to add value to people. And if you can add value to people, people will come and buy your product or service. It's all about adding value to people. Sometimes going into business, guys, it can be tough. It can be really tough. There is good businesses and not so good businesses. Also, sometimes when you do go belly up, it's not your own fault. It can be due to circumstances beyond your hard work. So the classic example is farmers. If there's an unsubsidised farmer who's working hard day and night, and they go belly up for reasons beyond their control. The weather completely wiped out their crop, or the commodity prices for that period of time was below the actual cost of producing that commodity. So milk prices were going so low that it's becoming uneconomical to send your milk off to the processing plants to process, and that's just simply supply and demand based on the international commodities. So you hear of farmers that take a gun and go off to the bush and never come back. It's unfortunate that it happens. They're shameful for failing, and they have that guilt aspect, and they've got to change that mindset and not beat themselves up and not be so hard on themselves, because their financial difficulties were beyond their control. And we need people out there who get out there and start businesses, and they need to be welcomed and encouraged. But the sad fact is that the majority of businesses go belly up for a number of reasons. Mostly they're undercapitalized, but in some circumstances it's beyond people's control that lead them to go belly up. And the worst thing you can do is beat yourself up about it and get depressed about it and self-delete. That's the last thing people want you to do, because you'll be hurting those around you that love you the most. Also, some guys like to compare themselves with other people, and I remember moving into our McMansion with my first wife, and we'd converted a Californian bungalow from 140 square meters to 400 square meters in square feet. That's 1,500 square feet up to 4,300 approximately square feet. And basically we had a housewarming party, and a lot of my drinking friends in my 30s came around, and I remember cooking up a feed on the barbecue and then taking the food around and offering it to guys. And I came up across a circle of friends who were chattering away. And before I approached them, I heard them talking, and one of them was saying, geez, I really see that Scott's turned the corner from drinking buddy to family man. I guess we need to get our shit together. And that was the wrong sort of feeling I wanted to give to them, because people shouldn't compare themselves with other guys their age, what they're doing. Everyone is different, and just go at your own pace. Don't lump pressure on yourself. And I remember one guy in our group coming up to me afterwards saying, Scott, you've got your shit together. I really need to get my shit together. And that's sort of the wrong consequences I wanted to have on that guy, because he was a really good guy. But his problem was he was a drinker, and he was very close to being classified as a alcoholic. And I'm not too sure of the reasons why people become addictive, whether they've got an addictive gene in them from day one. But he needed to do some self changes and self improvements, and I was supporting him 100% on that front. But the big McMansion that was built, things didn't turn out as planned, and as people know, people can change, and pressures can build. And after about 10 or so years of marriage, I decided to call it quits, and arranged for my wife at the time to move into one of our rental properties. And I thought that was the best way to do things, to give us time apart, because we're just constantly at each other's throats. We're arguing a lot, and it was over trivial stuff. We're both winding each other up. But I was about to go into a very emotionally charged and traumatic part in my life, where you have to go through the divorce process. And there was a bit of anger involved on my part, I admit. I went into the relationship basically with like a 5x to 1 ratio of assets. I asked her at the time to sign the prenuptial. She refused to take me for what I am, she used to say. She was a very strong boss girl. She had a lot of positive qualities. She was a bright woman. But she wanted 50-50 at the end. So we both made good coin throughout the relationship. She had a very good, highly paying consultative job. I also had good cash flow from my businesses. But it hits you in the pocket, guys, when you go in at 5 to 1 at the start, and then she wants 50-50 at the end. Anyway, it was interesting because you've got to get yourself a good lawyer. And I had a lawyer who was younger than me, and he had never been married. He'd never been in a relationship. He didn't have a girlfriend, but he was purely focused on getting the clock ticking over so he could charge me more hours. And he was writing legal letters to me on my options, and the legal letters were like 6 to 8 pages. It was in quite heavy legal speak, and you had to actually focus when you received these letters as an attachment in an email. And it consumed a huge amount of time. And when you read his letters, it's just all mumbo jumbo talk. Should you decide to go down this option, then you've got just these things to consider. But should you go down this other option, then you need to consider this. But if you go with option 1, then you also need to consider option 3. And it's just so confusing. And he just wasn't speaking plain English. And I had a gut feel, that voice inside you, that he's just running the meter. He's just extracting as much money out of you as possible. And I knew that you get what you pay for. So I remember calling it quits with this lawyer and deciding to get another lawyer. But I wanted someone that was a heavyweight, because my opponent, she was tough. She was very tough, and she was a tough negotiator. So I remember walking into the big law firm in the city, one of the biggest law firms in the city, and they have this sort of granite marble at the entrance, and the receptionists down below, who are you here to see? And I said I need a divorce lawyer. And they said, okay, we'll send you up to level 16 or 32 or whatever it was, and you can take it in from there. So you go up to that next level, and people come and go in, and just a beautiful granite tiles and marbles. And I thought, the client must be paying for this. But anyway, I went in, and the 2 receptionists on the front said, how can we help you, Mr. Patterson? And I said, I need a divorce lawyer. Can you recommend one? And I prefer to do things in face with people, because websites can be say one thing and reality is completely different. And I remember walking in, and these ladies were talking away, and they said, yes, I can help you. I went through one myself, and I can tell you the best guy in our law firm, and instant. So he was available. I met with him briefly, and my first comments to him were, what's your track record on this? And he laid out his credentials, and I had a rapport with this guy straight away. He spoke simple English and didn't confuse me. And his rates were quite high, so $500 an hour. and we took it in from there. So it was a 3-year process, and it was emotionally draining. And we finally got settlement, and his advice to me was, Scott, you could go on and on and on and go to the next level and go to the next level and go to the higher court and the higher court, but sometimes it's best to take the hit on the chin, compromise a little, and move on, because sooner or later your legal fees will outweigh the benefits of settlement that you're trying to pursue. And I knew exactly what he was getting at. He was talking business talk, and I totally connected to that. So I remember the final meeting, I compromised on a few areas, and my ex also compromised on a few areas, and it was going to hit me hard in the pocket, but we did the agreement. And on the lift on the way down, right at the bottom, he said to me, "You've just done the best thing you've just made the best decision in your life. Otherwise, it's going to cost you a huge amount of legal bills." And then he just walked off. And sometimes in life, you stand there just contemplating what the guy just told you. And I knew exactly what he was saying, but it was the right thing to do, to put it behind you and move on. And it can be very emotionally draining and time consuming, but when you put it behind you guys, it's a new day tomorrow. The sun comes up and you can focus on new challenges and new achievements, and it's a major relief off your shoulders to get that off your shoulders and move on and that's how that one played out. So when you're having going through a down period, don't let it get to you. Think of the big picture. The planet Earth is just a small speck of dust in the entire universe. It's been going for billions of years. You're just part of the evolutionary process. And if you want to see how small you are in terms of nature, then go to the beach and look at the ocean and see it crushing against rocks and the force of nature, and look at the big picture of where you are. If you're not near an ocean, you're inland, go climb a mountain and think about the geology that made those mountains and the structure of the cliffs and things like that. It's fascinating. I always remember when I go to my mother's place for a cup of tea or whatever, and she has this amazing shell collection, and the shells are so beautiful, and not even the geometry of the shells, and no handcraft person or artist could do a better job than making those shells. They're just stunning, and they're designed by nature. It's just beautiful. And you got to look at the big picture, guys, that where you are in the entire realm of the system. We're just a small part. So don't let any issues pull you down to the level of self-deletion, because it's just not worth it. You'll really, really hurt those people that you love the most. Another thing is business debt, guys. It can pull a lot of people down. A lot of people want to get into business, and there's a very high failure rate in business. It's not for the faint-hearted. I've seen a lot of people that have no commercial skills get into business and they lose a lot. It's something that you can't get taught at university. It's something that you learn from experience, and it's not for the faint-hearted. So if you do go into business, just be mindful that there are circumstances that are outside your control. Take, for example, the farmers. You hear a lot of farm stories of where farmers have got themselves into a pickle, and they take their gun and they go off into the bush and not to come back again. And if you actually look at why they did what they did, it was mostly due to high debt levels, where the business had taken on debt. It's just on the side note, banks are very eagerly to lend on good times, but they're very, very quick to pull the plug when there's a downturn. But some of these farmers have had just pure bad luck, and that's got nothing to do with their business acumen or their character or them as a person. You can have the weather turn nasty and it can ruin a crop. You can have commodity prices going in a downward spiral due to demand and supply. And if you're producing milk and you're a dairy farmer and you're up at 5 a.m. every morning producing milk, and what you're getting paid out is less than the cost of production, it can be very disappointing. But just hold in there, guys. Don't ever do the unthinkable and walk into the bush with a gun and not come back, because those things are beyond your control, and it goes in cycles. And try to renegotiate the loan with the bank. Sometimes it can be a bank's problem too. They all need to meet their quarterly objectives, and it can be disappointing if banks put you into liquidation, because what they would get with a liquidation would be a lot less than what they could get once things pick up again and the value of your business goes up again once commodity prices go up, because things do change, but a lot of bankers tend to be quite short-term lookers. Also, on the relationship front, guys, if you're finding it tough in the dating market, it's not unusual. It's a lot of guys have challenges in the dating market. Even those guys with money in coin, you always come across stories of people that are very successful financially, but they partner up with the wrong woman, and it's a living hell for them. So if you want some dating advice, I'd suggest to get red pilled. It's something that there's plenty of commentary on the social media platforms, but don't go too radical. Just a mild version of it. And getting red pilled makes your eyes wide open when you're dating, and gives you a better understanding on how to evaluate women, and continue to be respectful and not bitter towards women. So, guys, that's basically it for today. The worst thing you can do is self-delete, and you'll hurt those who are closest to you. So if you have a young family and you've got a 6-year-old daughter, there could possibly be a big hole in that young girl's heart for the rest of her life. She'll never forget that event in her life. And mother, father, wife, girlfriend, other kids, people that love you, they'll be just devastated. They'll be absolutely devastated. You'll hurt them a lot more than you'd ever want to. So don't do it, guys. Don't do it. Keep your chin up. Be optimistic. There are good days and bad days, but the sun does come through, and I'm not just talking about the weather sun. There are good times around the corner. And it's tricky to navigate, but please don't go into that downward spiral and self-delete, because there's so much more you can do with your life and look forward to in life. So that's it for today, guys. I hope you enjoyed the session. Please click on the like button, subscribe to the channel, comment in the comment section, and I look forward to seeing you on the next one. Cheers.